Four consecutive losses for Indiana at the worst time possible. The latest, a 77-64 loss right here inside Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall to the nationally ranked Michigan State Spartans. Ian Plaskoff, Noah Gerkey, with you on the House of Hoosier podcast, presented by the Field 68 Podcast Network. This was an odd one, very odd. It felt like Indiana was really close at times and about to make a run, and at other times it felt like Indiana just couldn't. I know people hate the phrase, but couldn't get over the hump. Um, it felt like it was a blowout and a close game at the same time to me. And there were some glaring issues, but the effort was fine. That's where I'll start.
Yeah, I think the effort was fine. And from the jump and even from before pregame, it had a big game feel, whether it was a sense of desperation, a sense of we got to get something here, a sense of urgency. It was there from the jump and it felt like a big game. And Indiana really played hard and played well. And like I said, the Coach DeVries in the press conference talked about the hustle was there, the effort was there, the execution just wasn't. And that was the big issue, whether it was on the rebounding side, the lack of scoring, just overall, it just felt like Michigan State was always one step ahead of Indiana, despite how hard and honestly how well they played most throughout that game.
Yeah, I mean, from the first segment, I put this out in a tweet because it was just weird. There were just bodies flying all over the place, and just at random times. Like Josiah Miles ended up in the crowd two times in the first maybe 5 minutes of this game. Loose balls all over the place, physical play. It was a classic Big Ten game. And that kind of set the tone for how this was going to be. Whiteout crowd, biggest game left here in the regular season, I guess. I mean, now Minnesota kind of takes the cake based on the result. But this was highly anticipated. CBS was in the house. Iron Eagle, Bill Raftery on the call. Brief pause because shout out to Iron Eagle. We must talk about this. We were able to talk to him pregame. I know it's a tangent, but super genuine dude, super awesome to talk to. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna step away there to say that and let you share your sentiments there.
Yeah, I mean, what a great guy. What a great broadcaster. Was excellent on the mic. We had to do a class. We share a class together, Big Ten Plus Sportscasting Lab. We had to give our broadcasting like idol who we look up to a lot. And mine was Ian Eagle. He's been that guy for me growing up. Watching him always feels like he gets the big game, steps into the spotlight and really owns it. And genuine guy, genuinely cared. We talked about how we both called the game yesterday. Yeah, you Penn State women's basketball game on Big Ten Plus. If you want to go take a look, go ahead. The two of us were on the call together, and he was super genuine. How'd it go? How do you think it went? And then ask us how he felt about this one. I mean, big shout out to Ian Eagle. There's a reason why he's one of the best in the business.
I posed that and I stated we should talk about him because when Eagle and Raftery are in the house, it's a big game, and it was for Indiana, and it felt like that, and they played like that. But Michigan State just didn't miss from three in the first half. I think they started out 6 of 10. Um, Indiana couldn't get anything going early, and the bench didn't help. The big play didn't help. I mean, Alexis was fine, but Indiana didn't. They matched the big game atmosphere with effort, but just execution wise, it was a struggle.
It started from the opening few possessions defensively, is really where you saw Indiana's struggles to begin. They could not guard Jackson Kohler. At one point, it was Jackson Kohler 14, Indiana 13. At one point in the game, they couldn't guard him. Whether it was inside, they tried doubling. They had Tucker DeVries on him. He stepped out and hit a three. They couldn't guard him, and then immediately spaced out the floor for everybody else on Michigan State's roster to do some work. And Jeremy Fears is as good of a point guard as you're going to find in the country. When he was distributing the ball like he was early on, you're going to find success. And the energy was there. The effort was there. It was just defensively, we've talked about it time and time again. They don't have the bigs to guard. They don't have the bigs on the rebounding side of things. And it hurt them in like the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. You could tell what Michigan State was going after, and they were trying to make Indiana pay inside.
Indiana was out rebounded 35-27. Leading rebounder for Michigan State was Jackson Kohler with 13. Leading rebounders for Indiana were Tucker DeVries and Josiah Miles with 6. Credit to Josiah Miles in this game. I mean, he had 6 rebounds, didn't score, but he was diving all over the place, made some effort plays. Post-game scenes here at Assembly Hall, of course. Um, but 6 rebounds for your leading rebounders, it's not going to go well against Michigan State when that happens. We'll see if you can get picked up here on the
Forgive
line.
me, forgive me if you can't hear over the sound of the blowers behind me. It's not a recipe for success, and especially with Michigan State, who's not a team that thrives on shooting the 3-point shot. When they shoot 50% from three, not only at the beginning of the game, but as a whole, they shot 50% from three in the game. It's back-to-back games where Indiana's allowed teams to shoot 50% from beyond the arc. That's not a recipe for success because Michigan State's not known to do that. They're a team that gets to the rim, pounds you inside, and if they can find that aspect of their game, they shot 12 for 24 throughout the game. As you mentioned, I think they started 6 for 10. They were 7 of 13 in the first half. You put yourself in a really tough spot defensively.
Jackson Kohler finished with 21 points. Jeremy Fears 21 points, both on shooting above 50%. Kurtz Hang had 18. He was 6 of 8 from three. And then the role players didn't really do too much beyond that. As for Indiana, it was what we've seen in this latter portion of the season where Lamar Wilkerson goes for 29 points on 11 of 21 shooting. He had 19 in the second half. Tucker DeVries had 20 on 6 of 16 shooting, but he was 3 of 12 from three. And then you got 8 points from Sam Alexis and 7 combined from Nick Dorn and Connor Enright. Bench did not score. Can you rely on that in the most important game of the year and for the next two guaranteed games? And maybe the Big Ten, well, you have at least 3 guaranteed games. No, you can't. You got to have a full team performance. Nobody scored a field goal in the second half besides Lamar Wilkerson and Tucker DeVries, and that's a problem.
We've talked about the entire year who was going to help Lamar Wilkerson. At times, it was Tucker DeVries. Excuse me. At times, it's been Tucker DeVries this year, and for the most part, today it was. He was hunting his shots. He was getting open looks. Didn't shoot the greatest efficiency, especially from behind the arc. But there was no third option. There was nobody to help step up. And we talked about it when we were up there. When Lamar Wilkerson gets going like he does, there's not many ways to guard him, and there's not many. It's tough to guard Indiana as a whole when he's going the way that he was. The issue for Indiana was there was nobody else helping him at that point in time. Tucker DeVries had the good first half, had an okay second half for the most part. It was just Lamar Wilkerson and 4 other guys out there on offense, but it never really felt like they were playing 5-on-5 on that side of the floor.
I think you're safe for now, Noah, on the blower.
I think so too.
Post game here at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, again, after Indiana lost 77-64. Let's talk about the bench a little bit. I mean, Tatum Connerway had been playing well for the last two. He played, let's see how many minutes. He didn't put up a stat. Didn't play in the second half. He played 7 total minutes. He was a -5 and no stats recorded. Reed Bailey played 8 minutes, was 0 of 1 from the field with 3 fouls and a turnover with a block and a steal and no other stats. And we talked about Desai Miles, 6 rebounds, he was good. 4 fouls, sure. A turnover, sure. But 18 minutes, he was a valuable piece off the bench in rebounding, but no scoring. When you're playing a short 8-man rotation, no scoring from your bench, especially in a deep team, against a deep team like Michigan State, makes things awfully difficult. Lamar Wilkerson said post-game, he was asked about his 19 points in the second half. He said, yeah, it was great, but it wasn't worth anything because nothing else happened. So that's kind of the sentiment post-game is that, the fight was there. We had DeVries and Wilkerson in the press conference. Both DeVries, Tucker and Derek, but Tucker and Lamar were together. And both of them shared the same sentiment that no matter how much they, filled up the bucket, it didn't really matter because they just couldn't get anything going, and there were untimely offensive rebounds given up, and it just felt dejected. Like everything they tried just didn't work, and that's kind of how they felt.
It seemed like everything that Indiana did had a counter reaction to it. So they get the lead to 5. Wilkerson hits back-to-back shots. The crowd gets into it. Probably the loudest part of the game beside one that we'll talk about later. I'm sure we'll get to it. And then Michigan State goes down, has a 53-second possession, missed 3 offensive rebound, missed 2 offensive rebound, leads to a 3 at the end of the possession. And that was sort of the feeling of that's how it's going to go. And every time Indiana would go score, Michigan State would have an answer. Indiana would get a stop. Michigan State would get a steal and get out in transition. And he talked about it. The lack of bench scoring has been an issue, and it was again today, but they also didn't shoot the basketball. The bench shot the basketball one time. It's easy to score 0 points when you only shoot the ball one time. So whether it was they're not looking for it offensively or it just didn't come through the flow of it, what do teams do defensively? They lock in on your other guys. You're basically playing 4-on-5 or 3-on-5 on the offensive end.
Yeah,
Because they aren't attempting any shots. Reed Bailey had Jeremy Fears on him in the post, took one dribble and immediately kicked it back out. No attempt at a post move, nothing. Conneray had a drive to the rim, and instead of laying it up with his left hand, threw a bounce past the corner to Connor Enright with 4 seconds on the shot clock. They're not looking for shots. So immediately teams just have an out defensively. Don't guard him. Don't put your focus on him.
yeah, it felt like Indiana got deep in the shot clock way more times than usual in this game. And when they got deep in the shot clock, they passed up shots and made it difficult on other guys. Like Tucker DeVries and Lamar Wilkerson took a combined 37 shots. Everybody else took 19 combined. Lamar and Tucker combined for 49 of the 64 points. Defensively, those guys are going to score, but you can also put a lot of attention on them, knowing that the rest of the lineup isn't going to look to shoot. And that was the case today. Also, I mean, this is the big story. I think this is what you were hinting at with the crowd in the Reed Bailey saga of him and the student section. Personally, I wasn't a fan. You should never be booing your own players. Um, every time Reed Bailey checked into the game, there were boos. Every time he checked out, there were cheers as he got replaced by somebody on the floor. Every time he touched the ball and made a mistake, which there were few, it didn't go well from the student section. And then he came in, immediately pinned a shot off the backboard, and then got his name chanted multiple times as Indiana went to the under 8 timeout. It was a weird energy between Reed Bailey and the crowd today. I wasn't a big fan of the crowd.
You want to know my legit opinion on that?
Yeah,
On the Reed Bailey? That's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. What are you doing as the student? Like, what are you doing? Why? I understand Reed Bailey has had his ups and downs this season. I understand that the season isn't necessarily at the point that you want it to be right now. Why are you booing your own player in your own gym when he was not the reason they were down 13 points? He played 8 minutes. Did he look at times out of position defensively when he was on the floor? Sure. Has there been play up until the point this season that you think he just hasn't played well? Sure. He's not the reason they're sitting on the outside of the bubble. It's not just Reed Bailey. It's a collection of a bunch of people. What does it look like to other players or even players who can stay? What does Trent Sisley think on the bench? Oh, if I play poorly, I'm going to get booed by my own fans on my home floor in a top 10. When the new AP poll comes out, a top 10 Michigan State team. What do people who watch the game think about Indiana's fan base? I get that it's bad on Twitter. I get that it's an overreactionary fan base. Would you want to play here at this point in time if that's how you're going to be treated as a player? I understand why fans did it in a sense of you can be frustrated. It's not just one player, though. Realize that. And I think it's flat out ridiculous. I am not a fan at all. And then turning around and chanting his name when he does something well. BS. No, not doing it. I'm not a fan. Flat out ridiculous.
I think we share the same sentiment. We just expressed it different ways.
It's just so frustrating. I understand you're gonna take the calm approach to it. That's how it is. That's the two of our dynamic.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree with you fully.
I mean, how can you sit there as a potential recruit and be like, yeah, yeah, this day and age, everybody can pay everybody, okay? Indiana's money can only go so much. You have to play in front of fans. You have one of the best atmospheres and environments in the country, filled by sometimes some of the worst fans in the country, and how they treat players and the unreasonable expectations. That booing a player on his home floor in that type of environment when he had no detriment to the game itself in this one, when he was on the floor for the most part. I get there's frustration at the time this year. That is ridiculous. I don't like it at all. Sorry.
Well, now let's wrap up our Michigan State conversation before Noah explodes.
That's surely getting
Um,
clipped too. So
Henry, our
you'll see
producer,
it.
if you're listening, I think we just made it easy on you.
You'll see it somewhere.
If he doesn't clip it, I will. Looking forward, this loss, I mean, this was a game where if you win, it's going to help you a ton. If you lose, it's not going to help you, and it's going to hurt you a pretty good amount. Two games left in the regular season, one at home, one on the road. Minnesota at home on Wednesday, and Ohio State this weekend on Saturday on the road in Columbus, who just picked up a win over Purdue at home. That may solidify their spot in the tournament. Um, what do you think? I'm thinking like you need to win the last two if you're thinking NCAA tournament, and then you need to win
Correct.
two in the Big Ten tournament. You're probably going to be matched up with what the 15, one of the lower seeds in the Big Ten tournament for your first game. And then you'll probably see a team like a Nebraska or like a UCLA, uh, or a Illinois or a Nebraska, maybe I don't know. But you need probably two wins in the Big Ten tournament because that first game is likely going to be a quad two or three.
Probably quad two being a neutral site, you would guess. I was looking at the House of Hoosier reaction page that we had, and I wanted to see. We asked the question of where Indiana sits on the bubble, and so I'm excited to look at this. But it feels like they need to get to 20 to 21 wins. But to be honest, the bubble is awful this year. It is bad. The fact that 15 and 14 Auburn's even being considered for the tournament should tell you how bad the bubble is. I think I'm with you. I think it's four. The two, you have to get the two regular season games. If you drop that bubble in between game with Ohio State, you might as well not. Like, you'd have to go on an incredible run in the Big Ten tournament, which this team is capable of because they play in stretches of four. They won four in a row and have now lost four in a row, right? Did I get that right? So now,
They no, they've lost four two times. They've lost four from January 10th to the 20th, won three, then lost to USC, then won two more, and then they've lost four.
yeah. So, had they had a losing streak longer than four at this point in the year?
No,
It's a good sign. That's a great sign. They got it. They're a trendy team. I think it's four. It's a quad two or quad three game in the Big Ten tournament, and then you get a quad one opportunity probably with being neutral site with either UCLA, Iowa, whoever it ends up being. You get a chance to do that, and then you get one of the top four teams, and depending on who you get, if you get a Nebraska or the way Purdue's playing, you don't hate having to play one of those two teams again. But it feels like they need four wins. And right now, where they sit, they're out, and they probably should be out. But when you look at it, you get four, you maybe feel good with 21 wins. And I think at that point, it'd be 13 losses.
yeah, the Big Ten tournament's really interesting because that first game is not going to help you on the resume, but it helps you earn an opportunity to get a big
To
win
get
for
the
the
next one.
resume. So you have to win that first game to get a chance to get a win to change that a little bit in the resume. But these last two regular season games, none of that matters if you don't win the last two regular season games. Because if you lose to Minnesota at home, there's no reason to put you in. There may not even be right now before all those games happen. If you lose to Ohio State on the road, it hurts, and that's a quality win that you need. Um, and that'll make things more difficult in the Big Ten tournament. That might stretch your number to three, which would then include the quad two game a lower quad one, and then a high quad one. To win the Big
Or
Ten tournament, you need 4 wins or three from Indiana's spot.
four.
Four, right? Yeah.
Wait, no. Wait, it'd be more. First round game, then you get the middle tier, then you get a top four team, then you get a semi, and then you get the championship. So five.
The more games you win, the more opportunities you have to
They
get
need
more resume wins. Yeah.
they need three to even get to the quarters, I believe. I'm gonna do some research on that.
Yeah, it's a different format because this is the first year they've had all 18.
Correct. Let
Well,
me do
as
some
Noah
research.
looks that up, um, yeah, it's a you have to look at these last two regular season games before you think about anything in the Big Ten tournament. Indiana's already lost to Minnesota once. You got to think the atmosphere on Wednesday, March 4th, is not going to be what Indiana hoped it was going to be after losing these four in a row and two straight at home. Five is the number.
Five. The
If you
quarter to
lose,
even get to the quarterfinals, you have to win two games.
if you lose one of the last two regular season games, I'm bumping the number in the Big Ten tournament to three.
You got to get to the semifinal. You think?
If you lose to Minnesota or Ohio State, yeah.
Yeah. Some of our reactions. Lucas Bagley _ says out most likely have to obviously win versus Minnesota and Ohio State, then two or three wins in the Big Ten tournament. Realistic reaction. Jordan Gelfeld says out, mega out, need 3+ wins in the Big Ten tournament and a win out in the regular season. Also, more wins don't hurt. Quincy _Bell _sports says out. No other explanation, just out. Jimmy Sharp 43 says we don't deserve to even be talked about being near the bubble. I'd rather watch a mid-major.
All right.
VCU's a mid-major. They're right by the bubble too. VCU's fun to watch. My favorite mid-major to watch this year is Akron. They're a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
then
Go
Oscar
Zips.
Eggold says your bubble is pop twin. So right now the expectation is that Indiana's got a lot of work to do to get into the Big Ten tournament. And or in the NCAA tournament, that is. And Tom Izzo was actually asked post game. He said, "Does Indiana deserve to be in the tournament?" And he said, "Read my lips, hell yes." So Tom Izzo thinks so. He said, "It's unfortunate somebody's got to lose this game, but that looked like a tournament team to me." They've shown flashes at times this year, but I bring up the question that I brought up against the Northwestern game in the second half. Were there flashes in this game that make you think that this team is an NCAA tournament team? Yes, there were
Sure.
stretches.
Yeah.
But did the overall product make you believe that this team deserves a spot in the NCAA tournament?
Major holds.
And bubble teams have holes. That's part of it. I don't know if they have as many, and it might be a shame because the national media deserves to get to watch Lamar Wilkerson in March Madness. They do. He's a phenomenal scorer, and they deserve that. But I don't think they've got as many glaring holes as Indiana does at times. They can't rebound at times when they run two bigs. They can't find constant secondary and third scores. I the overall product has not convinced me yet. And so obviously if you get 3 or 4 wins from now until the March Madness tournament, obviously your perspective on the team changes. So we'll see.
All season long, we've been talking about the 20 win mark. 3 wins would do it. And you also have to chalk up if Indiana doesn't win the Big Ten tournament, they're going to lose a game. So that would be 13 losses. So if you win 3 games, so you win your first game in the Big Ten tournament, you'll be sitting at, you win out, win the first game, you'll be sitting at 20-13 when it's all said and done for your resume. If you win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, 21-13, that looks a whole lot better than 20-13.
Yep, especially when you're going against teams like Cal and Auburn, who have very similar losses to wins and don't have the great net metrics. Getting those wins boosts your analytics, and it also helps Indiana that if you get those 4 wins, losing this one close helps because it just helps the numbers just a little bit more. And sometimes they use the net. The NCAA committee, their big factor is the net. So keeping yourself around there is huge. And obviously, if you beat Ohio State, that's a quad one game, and you guarantee yourself at least one other quad one game opportunity if you win the first game of the Big Ten tournament. So things change quickly. This is March now. This is March 1st. We've seen crazier things happen. This is, it's very much still possible. I'll be on the optimistic side, and I can see a world where they do it, but there are some holes that have to be figured out. And if they do it, I won't be shocked. And if they don't, I also won't be shocked. It's a very much wait and see reactionary type of vibe right now.
Yeah, I feel like it's right down the line of in and out, and I wouldn't be surprised to fall on either side. The last thing I want to ask you is you look at the ranked games this year. Louisville was within 10. That was close. 87-78. This wasn't a ranked game, but at Kentucky, at Rupp, in a quad one game, you lose by 12. Big Ten ranked games. Nebraska lose by 16. Michigan State on the road lose by 21. Michigan lose by 14. Iowa unranked game, but still a Big Ten game. Quad one, maybe still, not sure. You lose by 17. Michigan, you lose by 14. I might have already said that. And then Illinois and Purdue. Illinois, you lose by 20. Purdue, you lose by 29. Michigan State, lose by 13. What's the number for you that you consider close in the lose close category? And has Indiana done enough to count themselves in that?
Road games, 15, 13, 15 looks, I don't know. This one, the issue with this one is it ended up being 13 when it felt like Indiana deserved to lose by 7. But it ends up being 13. Then Nebraska lost at 6. Yeah, you look at it, it's like, oh, we only lost by 6. Indiana had that game won, but too bad you don't look at that one, you know? Then you look at Iowa. Iowa lost by 17, didn't feel like they would win it. Michigan State Michigan 14, you feel good. The losing close at home, you need to be within 7 points. So I guess they didn't necessarily lose close in this one, but the big thing is they didn't get their doors absolutely blown off of them.
Well, there are people taking the floor for another different activity, so we will start wrapping it up here on the House of Hoosier. It's 7:44 p.m. after Indiana lost to Michigan State on this Sunday afternoon turned evening. A 13-point loss and a big one for tournament hopes. If Indiana wins out in the regular season, they'll finish with 10 Big Ten wins. They'll split a 500 record, 10-10. Need a couple wins in the Big Ten tournament as well. We'll keep you posted for the rest of the season along with the House of Hoosier, and we'll wrap it up here from Simon Scott Assembly Hall, Indiana.